Good morning, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a Trumpet for My People. Today is September 24th, 2021, and I want to do two things here this morning. The first thing I want to do is I want to share with you about the fall of man that took place on Chesvan 17, according to the Book of Jubilees. And after I share this piece of information with you, I want to go over all of the things that we have seen up until now as we're watching the day the flood began, 17 Chesvan, which is October 24th, 2021. We are only 30 days away. Many people think that this is way into the future and we've got months and years. And why am I jumping so far ahead? I'm only looking 30 days from now. Okay, so it's still very close. We're still right here. Very, very close to the time frame. I am just sharing what I see with you. So the first thing I want to do here then is show you from the Book of Jubilees the fall of man on Chesvan 17. This is found in the Book of Jubilees, chapter 3, verse 17. And many consider the Book of Jubilees to be a very historical and correct historical document. It was not canonized, it's not part of Scripture, but many believe it is a correct portrayal of history. And so this is an extra biblical source on this, but I do want to share this with you. Chapter 3, verse 17 of the Book of Jubilees, after the completion of exactly 7 years there, and in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, the serpent came and approached the woman, and the serpent said to the woman, Has Elohim commanded you, saying, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Okay, so we have the fall of man, according to the Book of Jubilees, on the same day as the Great Flood. Okay, very interesting correlation. Maybe the reason God chose this day to bring the Great Flood upon humanity, because of their original sin that took place in the Garden of Eden on the same day. Very interesting possibility. And this could be the connection to, as in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be, and the beginning of the Great Tribulation on the same day. So now what I want to do is I want to go back to the beginning, and very quickly, it's not going to take a long time at all, but I want to put together all of the signs we've seen up until now. There are a couple other things that I have not documented yet that I'm adding into this, so there's going to be some more new information as well. Let's go back to the beginning. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. As it was in the days of Noah, God gave us a calendar as to the beginning of the flood, the very exact day, based on the biblical timeline. We are also given many details about the violence and the intermingling of the Nephilim and the fallen angels and humanity and all of that together with this, but it's also connected quite possibly to the calendar of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah. So we see that in the book of Genesis, chapter 7, verse 11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of the heavens were opened. Okay, so we have, as in the days of Noah, and we have the beginning of the flood was on the 17th day of the second month. Now, according to Jewish history, the great flood begins. The rains began to fall on the 17th of Chesvan in the year 1656 from creation, flooding the earth and rising above the highest mountains. Only Noah and his family survived in the ark built to that end by divine command, and a pair of each animal species who entered with him into the ark. So this is very interesting because on the Hebrew calendar, Chesvan is actually the 8th month. On their religious calendar, but on their civil calendar, it's the 2nd month. Based on the timing in the life of Noah, the 2nd month was Chesvan, and then the calendar was changed at the time of Moses, and then Abib or Nisan became the 1st month, and Tishri became the 7th month. Okay, that was changed at the time of Moses. But during the time of Noah, and this is why Jewish history writes that the great flood begins on the 17th day of Chesvan. Then we have this very compelling piece of information that, according to the prophecy of Daniel, 70 weeks are determined from the order to restore Jerusalem. We have the rebirth of Israel on May 14th, 1948. We have the fulfillment of the 70 years of Israel exactly on May 14th, 2018, which was the renewing of the covenant when Donald Trump inaugurated the embassy and moved it to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv and declared Jerusalem the eternal capital of Israel. This was the renewing of the covenant exactly on the 70-year birthday of Israel. So we have a 70-year prophecy, then we have a 7-year prophecy, the renewing of the covenant, and then we have what is given to us in Daniel 9:27, the midweek abomination and the desolations that are going to come upon the earth. 1260 days in the middle of the week. 3.5 years times 360 biblical days is 1260 days. From May 14th, 2018, 1260 days brings us to October 24th, 2021. And on the Torah calendar, which most correctly it's within 1 day or just 2 days different between the Hebrew and the Torah calendar, but the Torah calendar most correctly is following the new moon of each month. So the 24th day of October is the 17th of Chesvan, and this is connected to the beginning of the flood, as in the days of Noah. So we have all of this connecting us to October 24th. Now, if we continue on with all of the signs that we have talked about, we showed you that the day the flood begins is Chesvan 17, but Noah enters the ark 7 days prior, which is relating to October 16th to 17th. Noah enters the ark Chesvan 10, the 10th day of the 2nd month. Okay, so 7 days before the flood begins, Noah enters the ark. Now, I've shared with you extensively. I have 2 complete messages about this. No jab, no job, country list of vaccine mandates. I went through many different universities and organizations, the health departments of the United States, of Canada, but I also went through a list of countries and all of the vaccine mandates. Now there's a variation between the beginning of October, some are at the end of September, some are at the beginning of October, some are at the end of October, but there was a number that are all directly connected to October 15th. Okay? No jab, no job, and the vaccination becomes mandatory. You will no longer work, you will no longer make money, you will no longer be able to buy or sell based on vaccine mandates. Okay? This is connected to Noah entering the ark. October 15th, vaccination mandate deadline. This to me seems like the exact 7-day warning beginning before the beginning of the flood on Chesvan 17. Okay, I will share the links with you at the end of this of the messages that I did on that subject, but I have all of this documented connecting the vaccine mandates to this time in the middle of October when everything is finalized and becomes law. Okay? Now, the other thing that I shared yesterday, which was amazing to me to be able to find this, to be able to see this, but what really got the end time uh, timeline going with Israel was the Balfour Declaration that happened on November 2nd, 1917. This was the beginning stage that set up what would end up becoming the rebirth of Israel in 1948, but this got the ball rolling, the Balfour Declaration of November 2nd, 1917. Okay, and this had to do with the rebirth of Israel, bringing Israel back, bringing the Jews back to their homeland in Palestine. Okay, so this was the beginning of the end time clock of Israel. Well, this was the 17th of Chesvan, November 2nd, 1917. So that is another amazing detail. Now we have 1945, the United Nations established. They were established exactly on October 24th, 1945. Okay. Now, the United Nations, what is their purpose? What is the purpose of the United Nations? Okay. To maintain world peace and friendly relations among nations. This is the organization that was established to bring in a new world government, a one world government, a new world order, and to bring in peace and safety. When they say peace and safety, October 24th is the United Nations Day. It's United Nations Day. Okay, this was the Charter of the United Nations was established, but it was not only October 24th, 1945, but it was also, yes, the 17th of Chesvan. In 1945, the day that the United Nations came into existence was the exact day we are watching, also on the Hebrew calendar, the 17th day of Chesvan, the day the flood began, connected to the birth of the United Nations. Okay. Now, 4 years later, we have another highlight within the United Nations exactly on October 24th. October 24th, 1949. The United Nations headquarters cornerstone is laid. The cornerstone of the United Nations headquarters is laid. And so here we have 1945, and then we have a 4-year time frame, and we have, again, October 24th being the key day. Okay, so that's another detail. 1 Thessalonians 5, 2 and 3. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. The biblical last days, wake up when they say peace and safety. When do they say peace and safety? Well, they say it during the United Nations General Assembly, but they also say it on United Nations Day, the day that the United Nations was established, October 24th. So this is a sign of the United Nations when they say peace and safety, October 24th, sudden destruction. It just so happens that on October 24th, 1881, the U.S. ambassador to France drives the first rivet in the Statue of Liberty. Isn't it interesting that the Statue of Liberty also has a connection to this day in history, October 24th? Here is a very interesting detail, and these are some new pieces of information that I had not shared before. And in 1929, a record 12,894,650 shares of stock were traded, causing the first day of real panic in the crash of 1929, known as Black Thursday. October 24th. Okay, the crash of 1929. Then in 2008, the big crash of 2008, Bloody Friday. There's a day in 2008 connected to the stock market crash of 2008 called Bloody Friday, saw many of the world's stock exchanges experience the worst decline in their history with drops of around 10% in most indices. And so here we have October 24th, 2008 was Bloody Friday. Okay. Isn't it interesting that the real panic in the crash of in the beginning of the Great Recession in 1929 came on October 24th, and another day which was the worst day for stocks in their history was also on October 24th. Isn't that interesting? These are signs of great recession and of great tribulation and of the great flood that all are coming on the same day as signs for us. Now, this is something else I shared, and I just shared a quick video on this to show you that Houdini, the great eschatologist, someone mentioned that it sounded like they were saying that he was an eschatologist, but he was not an eschatologist, he was an escapologist. Well, his last show was October 24th, 1926. Very interesting that the great escape artist and his last show is also connected to October 24th. Now, isn't that what we are waiting for? The great escape? The disappearance of the Church of Jesus Christ? The greatest escape act of all time? October 24th. Isn't that an interesting connection? Then I shared with you in the beginning of this video, the Book of Jubilees shows us that the fall of man was exactly on the 17th day of the second month. Okay. So we have all of these connections connected to the beginning of the Great Flood. We have the end of the 70 years of Israel that is bringing us by 3.5 biblical years, 1,260 days exactly to this day, the beginning of the flood. We have the 7-day warning and the vaccination mandate deadlines. The Balfour Declaration. The establishment of the United Nations. The first rivet in the Statue of Liberty, October 24th. The Great Recession is connected to this day. The crash of 2008 is connected to this day. The greatest escape of all time is connected to this day. And the fall of man is connected to this day. Okay, so I just wanted to share this piece of information. I will leave all of these links for you in the description box. We have 7 messages that I have done on this. And all of these share bits and pieces of what I just shared. This one video that I just did, that I'm doing right now, that I'm leaving you, has all of this information together, except each of these goes into more detail about what is behind all of this, how we understood this, the list of the vaccine mandates, company by company, state by state, country by country. All of that is documented fully in these videos. Okay, so I will leave all of that for you. Thank you for tuning in today. Please share this video. This, of all the videos up to what I've done right now, is a full summary, okay, of why I am watching October 24th, the day the flood began, Chesvan 17, October 24th, 2021. Okay, I pray you guys are blessed. Have a wonderful day. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.